Hello and welcome back to my channel. There are only a few hours to go until the Game Week 1 deadline, so in this video I'm going to present to you a couple of drafts I've come up with. I've nearly finalised the team, but there are a few tweaks to make. So do let me know in the comments which draft you prefer or if there are any major players you think that I'm missing. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, and now we will have a look at the teams. If you watched my previous video, you will recognise this draft. Thank you for the people that commented, constructive feedback, I really appreciate it, and it's given me a lot to work on. Other feedback wasn't as constructive. Someone DM'd me on Instagram to say it was the worst team they'd ever seen and I should stop playing FPL, which is fair. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, but it didn't really give me a lot to work on. So I've taken a long, hard look at myself, really assessed the team, and I've come up with a couple of other drafts. So the first draft, this one involves taking out Pembele for Rodon, which isn't a very major change. Pembele was just there as the £4 million defender, did not put any thought into him whatsoever, just stuck him there to take up a space. However, I thought I'd go for Rodon, promoted centre-back who could pick up DEFCON points. Last season, he would have had 40 points, 40 extra points from DEFCON. So I think if it happens where I decide to use my bench boost in a couple of game weeks, or if there's an unexpected injury in the team, at least I've got that active player that could potentially pick up 2 extra points. It's not a lot, but for a £4 million defender, it would be quite nice. And then I've downgraded Porro to Van de Ven, and this is a full-on knee-jerk reaction to the PSG game. I am weak, honestly. I've been on Porro for ages, and then I've changed it just because of Van de Ven's goal. Now, the good thing about this is it does give me £1 million to upgrade Strand Larsen to João Pedro, and also you'll see that I've got £0.5 million in the bank from this team. So that gives me a bit of flexibility. If there's a player that I want to get in, I'm able to transfer them in rather than having to scrabble around to find £0.1 million. I did do a video recently looking at the highest owned player for each position, which absolutely flopped. So if you're bored today, please go and watch that and get the views up because it did not do very well at all. But looking at the 5 highest owned defenders, I didn't actually fare too well there. The top 5 are Frimpong, Wan-Bissaka, Van de Ven, Concert and Van Dijk. Considering 3 of the 5 are budget 4.5 million options, I think that's a lot of bench boosts and again, kind of bench warmer players. So maybe I am quite safe there. I have got Van Dijk, who's the 5th highest own, and that gives me the coverage if Liverpool do keep a clean sheet. And then at least it's matching Frimpong. The only disadvantage will be if Frimpong gets an attacking return. Obviously, I'll be slightly behind there. But then that's not to say Van Dijk isn't capable of attacking returns. That could also happen. Wan-Bissaka, I just wouldn't go for a West Ham defender, so I'm okay with not having him. And then equally with Concert, not quite there yet. I think Villa's defence did strengthen towards the end of last season, so maybe that'll be a player that I look to bring in later. And then obviously, whether I go for Porro or Van de Ven, I've still got that Spurs coverage. I don't think it's make or break if I go for Porro or Van de Ven, but obviously Porro is on a lot of set pieces, and he also did look really good against PSG. Van de Ven and Porro have both got that attacking threat, but I am a little bit worried about Van de Ven's fitness. Obviously, he missed quite a lot of last season due to his injury, whereas maybe Porro is the safer option, but that's why he's more expensive. So this one, I'm not 100% convinced on. I would obviously rather have Porro, but it does allow me to bring in João Pedro instead. And João Pedro is still the highest owned forward in the game and appearing in over half of teams. I thought that was largely due to the auto pick feature, but obviously his amazing performance during pre-season has made people hold on to him from there. And he was one that I thought I was going to bring straight into my team. He really impressed me when he used to play for Brighton. When Chelsea signed him, I was so excited. And then I didn't bring him in. But I think it was more financial issues, whereas now I've got that extra money, so I could go for him. There's 3 main reasons why I'd want to bring him in. The first one is really obvious. I'm sure he'll score. He looks so good with us as a team, and I know his minutes might be managed, might be 60, 70, but I think João Pedro can still do a lot of damage, and probably more damage than a lot of other players in a full 90 minutes, even with added time. So that's the first and main reason. The second one is Chelsea have got such a great run of fixtures in the opening couple of game weeks, so maybe that is one that I really attack with 2 Chelsea attackers. And then finally, as a Chelsea fan, if Chelsea do well and João Pedro is a big part of that, and then I also have points in my team, I'll be so happy. And I'll still really enjoy Chelsea having a win and João Pedro getting a hat-trick, but there will be that little glimmer of me that's annoyed he's not in my FPL team. So that's another reason that I could maybe go for him. In terms of the 5 highest owned forwards, I'm in quite a good position with those. I'm just missing out in my original team on Gyökeres, Haaland, and then obviously João Pedro. So having 2 of the 5, again, it's quite a nice safety net. I'm trying to play it safe at the start of this season, and then we can go a bit more wild with differentials later on down the line. I've also downgraded Brennan Johnson, which is one I'm gutted about because talking of differentials, he was one that I brought in and I was so excited to have. I thought he'd maybe give me a bit of an edge. Unfortunately, Thomas Frank decided to bench him against PSG and I don't quite understand why. I don't know whether it was a precautionary measure. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but it's a risk that I'm probably not willing to take. And at his price point, I think if I'm going to spend that amount of money on a player, I need them to be a guaranteed starter. It's too risky to start the season with a player that might not come on, might have limited minutes. And also with Spurs, I want to see how they play. I would love to have a Spurs attacker, especially for the opening game week. But I think maybe it's just not worth the risk right now. Instead, I brought in Sarr. Obviously, again, another knee-jerk reaction from the Community Shield where he did score a goal. I'm not fully sold on him though, so I'll take you over to my second draft. This one, again, Pembele to Rodon. Keep Porro instead, keep Strand Larsen. But instead, I will do Johnson to Rodgers. Rodgers was in my original drafts, and he was a player that I thought I was absolutely guaranteed to have going into game week 1. Last season, he was amazing, and one of the key things that I liked about him was he just played every single minute. It was very, very unlikely that he wasn't going to be in the starting 11. He only missed 1 game last season, and he's a really reliable asset. He's had that price rise fully justified considering the performance he put on last season, and he was an absolute steal. So I don't want the higher price bracket to put me off. So I have brought him in. I just don't know whether I want to double up on Villa assets right now. Watkins has been really good in pre-season. He's looked amazing. And he was also saying how important pre-season is and how it sets the foundations for the rest of the year. He highlighted the fact that he didn't play any pre-season games last year, and then he had to play catch-up. Whereas this pre-season, been on fire. He's looking so good. And I just wonder if that's enough Villa coverage, because hopefully Watkins will be at the heart of everything. But then Rodgers has also had a good pre-season, minus the injury. He scored 2 goals. He's mainly playing in his preferred role as number 10. And we saw last season he's got both goal and assist threat, scoring 8 times and providing 11 assists last season. So the dream, if I do go with the Villa double up, is seeing that little Twitter post when it says Rodgers assist, Watkins goal. And if we can just keep getting a couple of those, maybe that is the way to go. But if not, draft number 4, and this is probably the boldest draft that I've come up with, in light of the fact that I have had Van Dijk in every single draft that I've put together. But there's just something about Liverpool's defence that's looking a bit off to me. So in this draft, I've upgraded Neco Williams to Milenkovic, Van Dijk to Collins, Strand Larsen to João Pedro, and then Guehi to Esteve. Esteve just can't resist. He's in everyone's teams. Steve. It makes me laugh every single time. And that is a full sheep pick. I wouldn't have come up with it myself. But like I said, I've just seen him everywhere. So the first transfer, Neco Williams to Milenkovic. I adore Milenkovic. I bought him in really early last season, and it was probably one of the best moves I've ever made in FPL. He was integral to Forest's success last year. Their defence had been absolutely woeful in the previous season, and he played a really big part in Forest keeping 13 clean sheets, which was only one less than Liverpool, who came away with 14. And he also showed his attacking threat, scoring 5 goals and getting 2 assists. I'll be honest, I didn't expect so much attacking threat from him. But as I should say, always trust the Serbs. There were times where I didn't play him and then I'd have so many points on my bench. So the joy with Milenkovic is that you can just play him every single game week. Probably doesn't matter who the opposition is. Because Forest in pre-season, absolutely, they're not so attacking, not looking great on the attack side. But in terms of defence, you can't really fault them. So definitely going to have a Forest defender in the team. Maybe it is worth the upgrade from Neco Williams to Milenkovic. And I do feel good about having Milenkovic rather than Van Dijk. Van Dijk, I think, could have been a bit of a loss, but Trent's departure it looks like it's really weakened their defence and it could take a bit of time to strengthen up. They've only kept 1 clean sheet in pre-season, and that was against Stoke City. So it's not really anything to rage about. The 2-2 draw against Palace didn't do much to alleviate concerns either, and neither did the penalty shootout. And that didn't alleviate concerns both for Liverpool's attack, Salah's penalty capability, and then the defence. So I think Milenkovic probably is the front runner over Van Dijk. And again, he's one of those players, even though his ownership is high, I really, really like him. I'll be genuinely really happy if he keeps a clean sheet. So maybe that is the way to go. Liverpool assets on the whole do concern me a tad, and that's from the Community Shield match. Salah just looked really off. He didn't look very active, but I will still keep him because highest scoring player of the game, and he deserves to have a slow pre-season considering everything that he was doing last year. But there is that little bit of doubt in me, 14.5 million, what if it's not Salah at the heart of everything? He's only scored 1 goal in pre-season and he missed a penalty. And then in the Community Shield, he missed a penalty and it was one of the worst misses I've ever seen. It just wasn't very Salah, was it? So one way to buffer against the risk of Salah not performing too well is going for Gakpo. If I stick with Strand Larsen and then I do Rodgers to Reinders instead, or Reinders, I could then upgrade Baleba to Gakpo, which is a massive upgrade. And especially as I'm a little bit concerned about having Baleba in my team because there are the transfer rumours of him going to United. But we will leave that, we'll park that. But Gakpo could be a really good option to go for. And I would prefer, but then I think I need to maybe give it a bit of time with Liverpool because I don't know if it's going to be Gakpo, Wirtz, or Salah will just find his form from game week 1. He's never blanked in the opening game week, which bodes well. And I hope I haven't jinxed that now. Obviously, I am going to stick with Salah, but there is that room for manoeuvre maybe if I want to have another Liverpool attacker and just spread the chances of getting those attacking returns. But Salah will stay there. Van Dijk is out. We've got one Liverpool asset. I think that's enough. And then I couldn't resist Esteve. Every time someone says Steve, it makes me laugh. Last season, I hated Chris Wood jokes. I just thought they were childish and I didn't find them very funny. Steve, that is my humour. I absolutely love it. But like I said, this is definitely down to seeing him in so many people's drafts. It's also a really decent way to save 0.5 million. If I go for a Palace defender, realistically, I really want to go for Munoz. I just can't afford to bring him in. So maybe that's one I wait for until Palace's fixtures improve a little bit. Gahey does have the attacking threat and clean sheet potential, but when I realised that he picked up a red card and scored 3 own goals, I thought maybe that's not the player that I want at the start of the season. So they are all the drafts that I've come up with. To be honest, I'm probably leaning towards this one the most, but there is a little part of me that thinks that I should have Strand Larsen instead of João Pedro, which may be ridiculous, but then that gives me the room for manoeuvre to upgrade Baleba to someone else. But I would also like to have, I think Brighton are going to go under the radar this season, and all of their assets are so unbelievably cheap. I think none of them, there isn't a single asset that costs more than 6.5 million. And if they do have a great start to the season, everyone's going to be jumping on them. We'll have price rises. It'll be nice if Baleba is that asset that does well, and then I can enjoy his price rises. But with the Man United rumours going around, maybe I don't go there. And then Man United, that's a whole other beast. Please don't suggest that I bring in Fernandes because I think he's going to destroy me. However, I just don't want to go there. But I think Man United this season, again, another one. They had such a bad season last year. They completely ripped apart their attack, got so many good players, and it will either be absolutely perfect or a disaster. And I'll leave you with that. So thank you so much for watching. This is a very condensed version because I could talk for absolutely ages, but I won't. So let me know in the comments what you think about the drafts, changes, and again, don't suggest Fernandes because I'm not going there and I'll talk to myself out of it. But do subscribe if you are new here, and I will be vlogging this game week, so that will be uploaded on Monday night after the final fixture. And I will see you in a live stream on Sunday with Az. So subscribe so you don't miss any of that, and best of luck with the start of the season. Bye guys!